I'm really sorry to have to be the one to tell you that your freelance writing business is just going to turn to dust. It's going to end in the next few months or years, but only if you believe these few things. I am Mandy Ellis. I built a six-figure freelance writing business, and now I help other freelance writers hit five-figure months with dream clients without the burnout, stress, and overwhelm. If you believe this number one thing, your freelance writing business is not going to succeed. If you think the market is saturated, that there is no room for you, that there is no growth, no clients, no nothing, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. You have to believe and understand, and this is from stats that I've been reading for the last few months and last few years, that there are more clients than ever. More and more businesses are seeing freelance writers as the strategic edge in helping their profits, their innovation, their growth in their business. We are the necessary tool to keep the machine going, like with content, with marketing, all this stuff that really brings in that juicy ROI or the clients or the leads or the sales that they want. And if you continue to believe that there is no room for you, that the market is saturated, you're not going to make it. And I really want you to understand that if the market was really saturated, it would have been saturated decades ago. I wouldn't be here now telling you about freelance writing or telling you about my business or helping hundreds and thousands of writers with all of this stuff to grow their business, to hit five-figure months, to work with dream clients, to do all the cool shit that they've done, to hit six figures, all that cool stuff if the market was saturated. It would have been saturated decades ago. So you have to understand that there is very high demand. There's a very high demand for freelance writers, for writers just like you who do high quality content, who do good research, who know how to do interviews, who know how to put it together a great article or a great case study or a great white paper. There is room for you. Even if you're a newbie, even if you're just starting out, there's always room for great writers. There are always room for great writers. Number two, if you have been told this, I want you to give me a thumbs up. If someone has told you that you can only be successful as a freelance writer if you are in a certain niche or industry, or you do a certain type of writing, if someone has told you you only can do these things and that's how you be successful, give me a thumbs up, because that's totally wrong. I want to know how many times people have been told this, because when my Wealth Lab students come in, when my freelance writer Wealth Lab students fill out the initial survey so I can help them specifically with their questions and their roadblocks and all that stuff, one of the major things they mention is that someone somewhere told them that, oh, I have to be a B2B SaaS writer who only does white papers to make money. Oh, I have to write like 7 blog posts for each client and make sure that I'm only in fintech and only doing this to make money. That's not true. There is something really not like, I don't know, insidious about this, but there are lots of writers who make plenty of money, piles of money in the weirdest niches, in the weirdest industries, in the most random types of content all over the place. You don't have to specifically do one type of content, one type of copywriting, one type of client, one type of industry, one type of anything, or even two or three. You can let your business, and this is what I teach my Wealth Lab students, have cake and icing. You can mix the things that are feeding your creative soul with the things that you are really interested in that also make more money than the icing things. There's this balance that you have, that you just have to understand what clients are capable of, right? What their budgets allow, what the space is, what that niche has in terms of copy or content writing opportunities. But if you have had someone say that to you, that you have to do X or you have to do Y, or that that's the only way you're going to make money, it's not true. Your freelance writing business won't make it if you think you just have to do one thing to make money. That's actually the number one reason that people fail, is they think they have to do a certain niche or do a certain thing, and they hate it. They end up hating it. They're like, oh, I just told that I just need to work in SaaS, or I need to work in cloud computing, or I need to work in this rich niche and I'll make money. It's not true. Even if you did make money, I've seen people quit even when they made tons of money in a niche because they hate it and they think freelance writing is not for them. That's not it. You shouldn't be running your business that way. It's really important you know that. Number three that we're talking about, AI is erasing all writers. If you believe that AI is going to completely remove writers, then we're also going to have to ignore that writing has been around for 36,000 years. We have been telling stories as humans for 36,000 years. That is how we communicate as people. People don't need more information. They don't need to be barfed at by ChatGPT or all these other AI tools, more information. They need to understand the transformation through stories of working with your clients. That's it. They need the storytelling element to transform. Oh, if I work with this client, this is the transformation I'm going to get. That's what you're doing in your copy and your content. So if you believe that AI is just going to erase the thing that has been basically propelling humans to talk to each other and explain things to each other for 36,000 years, yeah, your freelance writing business isn't going to make it. And I want to let you know that the stats prove otherwise. There have been plenty of people on LinkedIn and plenty of data that's out there that talks about when AI content is put out, even when it has a human editor, even when there's a human touch, it is like a sugar rush. That content goes up really high, it performs really well, and then it dives. It just dives and it never recovers. It does not come back. It performs way worse than human content. So yeah, it's great to have the sugar rush and get those initial stats, but it never recovers. It doesn't come back. So you need to understand that we have been through lots of technological advances. And I'm not even going to say the last 36,000 years. We have been through a lot of technological advances as writers in the last 100 years. We've made it through everything from papers changing, from computers being introduced, to the internet, to SEO, to analytics tools, all that stuff. AI is not going to replace us. And if anything, readers are kind of rejecting AI. They don't want to hear from a robot. They want to hear from a real person. So if you believe that AI is just going to take all your clients or it's erasing writers, you're not going to make it. Number four, lower response rates means there's no clients in work. Now, this is something that we've been dealing with for a little while. So I want to let you know that what I've been seeing with my students, my Wealth Lab students and my Runway students and my own business and my friends, the response rate right now for LOIs and pitches is like 8 to 10%. That's pretty normal, a little bit low, but it's pretty normal. Now, responses for me, I've been doing this for 12 years. When I've sent an LOI or a pitch, I've gotten a response in 5 seconds and 5 years. Okay. That's a huge gap. So just because right now maybe your LOIs aren't getting the same 10 to 30% response rate, that's what I've seen over my 12 years is response rates for LOIs is 10 to 30%. And that really depends on a lot of different factors. One of those is that you have some kind of filtering process for sending your LOIs. You're sending them to the right clients. But it goes up and down. We have a lot of data to track that. That's why I have 10 to 30%. Right now it's 8 to 10%, but it will always go up and down. But what will not change is planting the seeds. If you are sending your LOIs, something will always work out. It may not work out when you want it to or how, but it will work out. A client will respond, you will get work, you will move forward. But low response rates or the fact that your business is changing or your business is maybe telling you something, you're kind of missing it in the data, you're not tracking the data, that's something that's a different story. So I want you to know that it's not that the lower response rates means there's no clients with no needs. It might mean you need to try and experiment or make an adjustment or change something in your business. And I've done this many, many times. I feel like this is something that we want to rely solely on the robotic numbers, but a business isn't like that. It is a living amoeba organism. It changes, it grows, it moves around. It's kind of like, we try to contain it. So I really want you to understand that 5 seconds and 5 years is a really big gap, but those LOIs pay off. You have to plant the seeds. I call this feeding the marketing Tamagotchi, but you have to plant the seeds because you never know when someone will respond. But if you are continually, regularly planting those seeds, you will have work. You will have a consistently filled pipeline. You will have good stuff going on. And if you feel like that was helpful, if you feel like, especially when we're talking about sending things out, that was helpful, feel free to subscribe. We're going to go over a lot more deep tips for freelance writers who are looking to move their business forward. So feel free to subscribe. And I have a free live masterclass coming up. That is going to come up in September. So if you are interested in that free live masterclass, the best way to hear about it first is to grab my free seasoned veteran cheat sheet. So if you go to mandyellis.com/cheat sheet, you can grab it. But it's also something where you're going to learn more about this marketing. What should you do? How do you do it? It is a checklist for marketing. It is a checklist for questions to ask on your client calls and how to actually onboard your clients and really attract better clients with your website and LinkedIn. And if you go to mandyellis.com/cheat sheet, you can grab it and you will be the first to hear about my free live masterclass. Number 5, our final tip here is that you are humble bragging about how many clients you've had. Oh, I've had hundreds of clients. I've had thousands of clients. You're getting the quantity part. You're missing the quality part. This is something that makes, and this is what I see behind the scenes. Students will come in and talk about well, how they've had tons of clients. But what ends up happening is the real backstory is that they are living the hamster wheel life. They are on the verge of burnout. They are in feast and famine all the time because they're constantly onboarding clients. They are in this path of adding new clients and adding new clients and onboarding without building deep relationships with their clients that then helps them get better clients in the future and understand their content needs better and write better content. They're ending up just absorbing more clients and they don't actually learn very much because it's all surface level. They end up onboarding, 100 clients a year and not actually learning too much. They're just doing a lot of this repetitive stuff. They don't build these deeper relationships that could lead to referrals or lead to better content or lead to understanding your clients' pain points and how to solve them and how to write that into your website and LinkedIn copy. They're just kind of going through it. And I can tell you, I've seen this a ton of times. When you don't focus on the quality of your clients, you end up in quantity. And yes, it feels good to say, like, I've had hundreds of clients. That makes you feel like it kind of quells some of the insecurity or the self-doubt, or that you feel like you're not enough. But I can tell you, I've seen so many businesses, so many freelance writers that are Wealth Lab students or other students or coaching students who come in and they've had all these clients, but they are on the hamster wheel. They are totally exhausted. They are in feast and famine because they don't have ongoing work. They don't have these long-term retainers. They just keep putting people on the hamster wheel, and they're constantly trying to learn the quirks of their clients and write better copy, but they have very little, to land on. They have it's kind of like sand underneath them. When you have a long-term retainer, you learn so much more about your niche and your clients and their struggles and how to help them. And that really like pays dividends for all your future clients and who you reach out to and how you help them in the future. So if you feel like that this has been helpful, next time we are going to talk more about kind of myth busting, but also like how you can really expand your freelance writing business without living in these myths or these fears or self-doubt or feeling like you're not enough. When we're talking especially about things that will end your business, if you build a freelance writing business, that thing will keep going. It is a little ecosystem. The hardest part of your freelance writing business is getting it set up and getting it going, getting the systems and the processes in place. I always talk about this in terms of, like, with my students, like a train. A train takes 2 miles to get up to speed and 2 miles to slow down. If you can do the 2 miles and get it up to speed, you're in good shape. The 2 miles of it slowing down gives you plenty of time to troubleshoot or fix things, or if you want to take a break. But that's the hard part, is getting that ecosystem, that train, feeding the train to get it up to speed. So I hope that this has been helpful. And if you have any questions, if you have things that popped up during this video that you have questions on, pop them below. I'd love to answer them. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.